Right, so when I'm testing, I'll source all my products from Aliexpress. I know that a lot of other people say, oh, Aliexpress isn't the best place to find products and it's saturated. I don't agree with that. Nearly like all of my winners have come from sourcing on Aliexpress, and there's so many different products that new sellers will come in and add every single day that I don't really think that you need to go anywhere else besides Aliexpress if you're looking to sell low ticket items. I mean, there are some really good dropshipping directories out there if you're after high ticket items like canoes and like paddleboards and stuff. In order to sell those products, it's a completely different strategy, right? So it's to sell those kind of products, it's different traffic sources work, like AdWords and stuff like that. And you can't get really the volume or the scale that you do with smaller ticket items. So I definitely recommend to stick with Aliexpress, regardless of what other people say, because it works for me, and I've based my entire dropshipping businesses off Aliexpress, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. Right, so anyway, the tools you need to source properly on Aliexpress are only three things, right? Obviously, you need the Aliexpress website, you need the Shopify Chrome extension, you need the Thieve Chrome extension. So if you're tossing up Shopify versus Oberlo, I strongly recommend to go with Shopify for a number of reasons. The first being that it's much quicker to fulfill orders on Shopify. The second is that you can use the Admitad cashback reward scheme, and I'll leave a link to sign up to that in the description of this. And the third reason is that there's much more functionality and better variant mapping with it. And so the Thieve Chrome extension, all this allows you to do is have infinite scrolling when you're on Aliexpress. So say if you go on Aliexpress, you can scroll to the bottom and more products will automatically appear. So go ahead and install these two Chrome extensions. So in terms of Aliexpress suppliers, I'm going to tell you something that not a lot of people seem to know, and that is 90% of Aliexpress suppliers are actually dropshippers. Right? So this might be a surprise to you, but it makes sense when you look at their processing times, like why they're so long, right? So the average Aliexpress seller will have like a 5-day processing time. Aliexpress sellers, the processing time longer than 1 day, are usually dropshippers, right? So the reason that there's such long shipping times isn't because they're getting huge volume orders and they're just really slow with shipping. It's because the sellers deliberately wait to build up their pre-orders to buy in bulk from the factory, right? So there's usually like a number of factories, and there's thousands of resellers who are ordering from the factory in bulk before they have stock on them. So when you see processing times of 7 days, that's just sellers waiting till they get enough orders so they can buy cheap in bulk from the factory, right? So there are actually some sellers on Aliexpress who aren't dropshipping and they have stock on them, and those sellers will generally have processing times of 3 days or 1 day. 1 day is really rare now. I haven't really seen any Aliexpress sellers have this, but they used to. But now it seems to be 3 days. But some of the 3-day sellers, if you message them and say, hey, what's the quickest processing time? Sometimes they'll say 1 day, and that means that they carry stock on them. And in saying that, when you're asking Aliexpress sellers about their stock levels, they usually will lie and say, oh, we have plenty of stock. Or sometimes I'll message Aliexpress sellers and say, hey, can you handle 50 to 100 orders per day? And they'll say, yes, we can, that's fine. And then a day later, their product will go offline. They'll say, oh no, we don't have any stock. So Aliexpress sellers will literally lie to you straight up because they don't actually know how much stock is in the factory. So there's a few things I look out for when I'm selecting my suppliers to test products with, right? So the first thing is that I'll always try to go with suppliers that have at least 5 diamonds, or at least 1+ crown, right? So 2 or 3 crowns, 4 crowns, that's great. They also must have a positive feedback score of above 97%. And they must be operating for at least 2 years. A lot of sellers will come on Aliexpress and then they'll disappear within the first few months, right? So you want to make sure that doesn't happen. So you want to make sure they've been operating for at least 2 years. And I'll never go with an Aliexpress supplier if they have 7-day processing times, right? Because in my experience, 7-day processing times just means they're really cheap suppliers who wait until they have enough money to go and buy in bulk from the factory, and sometimes 7 days stretches out to like 10 days, and I'll just never do that. So I would even rather pay a bit more for the product and have a quicker seller. And obviously they must ship via e-packet. If you're doing your testing in US, you need to ship via e-packet. It's the quickest and it will save you customer support headaches. And the last one I've got here is if the product has potential, get the supplier on Skype, right? So if you see that a product is selling when you're testing, you want to ask them to get on Skype. You want to start talking to them and test their English skills, test their responsiveness, and see if you can start building a relationship with them. Alright, so I'm going to quickly bring up Aliexpress. So I'm going to show you how I would compare different kind of suppliers and which supplier I would go for, right? So I actually saw this product a couple of days ago, which is pretty funny. I actually haven't tested it yet. I'm in the process of scaling a few winners at the moment. I'm doing big numbers on them, so I want to stick to them. But this is a product that I definitely would test, which I saw a few days ago, and that was a twerking Santa. Oops. Alright, cool. So the first good sign is that there are multiple suppliers. And when I say multiple, I mean it's about over 7 suppliers, or at least 7 suppliers here, all selling the same toy. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to find maybe 1 or 2 sellers selling that toy, because if they go out of stock, then you're screwed. But it's sort of like a double-edged sword, because if there's only like 1 or 2 suppliers, then usually it can mean the product is unsaturated as well. But I mean, if you have many suppliers like this, it means that it has sold in the past and you're not stuck with just one supplier if they go out of stock. So when I'm looking across all these suppliers, the first thing I pay attention to is the processing time. So we have 3-day processing times here, which are good. We have 14-day processing time. That's actually probably the longest processing time I've ever seen in my life. I would never, ever do that. But it looks like 3 days is the lowest. So we'll come back up to the top. The second thing now is I probably start looking at the price and also at the seller ratings here. So you can see 2 diamonds, 1 diamond. 2 diamonds is better than 1 diamond, obviously. But I want to see the seller's feedback score on these diamonds, right? So this one's got 50,000. This one's got a feedback score of 50,000 with 97.9%. This one's got feedback score of 49,000 with 97.8%. So these sellers are both really, really good. It's obvious that these stores would have been around for a long time to collect that many feedback reviews. So what I'm going to do is open these 2 sellers in 2 different tabs. And just to take it back a step, so this green stuff here and this green button here is the Dropified Chrome extension that I told you to install earlier. So that's up here. So if I wanted to add one of these products to my store, I just click that and it will load up into my store. So that's that green big box around it, and the green big box shows you the processing times, the seller ratings, and also shows you whether they have ePacket. So like 100%, the seller needs to have ePacket as well. And then there'll be some sellers down here so up here we'll have red, which means they have like gold medals, which means they haven't been around enough to collect a high feedback rating. If we go down here, so I've only got 303, so it means this store hasn't been around for long, and I would never go with a new seller because Aliexpress sellers just pop up and shut down all the time, so I want to go with someone who's been in the game a long time. But it looks like all these other people here have ePacket on there. Okay, so this one doesn't have ePacket, so it'll come up with red, so I would never ever go with a seller that doesn't have ePacket. So anyway, coming back up to here. Alright, so we've opened these 2 sellers in different tabs, and what I want to do is just compare them, right? So if I look at the stars here, this one has 6 full stars, this one has 4 out of 5 with 8 feedback comments. So let's go in and have a look, right? So the first thing I want to look at is how long the seller has been around for. So if the seller's been open for at least 2 years, that's good. It gets a little bit sort of dodgy if they've been operating for less than 1 or even less than 2. I don't really like. So this one here, so they've been operating for 3 years. It's the same thing as well. So the sellers look very, very similar. The only noticeable difference is so far that the price is a little bit different. So 14.92 compared to 14.94. So it's like 2 cents difference. So that means the price, we'll say that the price is basically the same. I usually just go and have a quick scroll down just to see that they've got like images of the product. Also come down here, sometimes I look at the shipping times and see which percentage has reached the customer in like what time frame up here. Just want to come back here and have a little look as well. So these product descriptions from both sellers are fine. They look very, very similar actually. Sometimes what sellers will do, they'll open like multiple stores and they'll advertise the product from the same store. So this might even be the same store that's promoting this product, since they look very, very similar. But anyway, we'll just take it on face value and we'll say because they have different shop names, we'll just go we'll just assume now that these are actually different shops, and we're comparing different shops. So this is sold by, the shop's name is exclamation mark, and this shop name is Oceany Shop. Okay, so yeah, so they're basically very similar. So what I want to go to now is the feedback. I want to compare the feedback, and this is probably what I'll end up basing my decision on. So see, we've got 1 star down here. I don't really like to see that, so I'll click on 1 star. We've got 2 negative reviews, so one saying that the bottom of the shoes to cover up the battery went there, and the other one is saying that there's something about the music not working, so I must play some sort of music song there. So here, if you look at here, they don't have any 1-star reviews. I just want to go back and check what comments are left for these 4 stars. Works with music on, which is very loud. So just based on these reviews, there's only been 7 versus 6, but I'm going to go with this supplier just because there's been no negative reviews. Even if it is, oh yeah, it's 2 cents cheaper. I mean, it doesn't really matter. That's nothing. But the last thing I want to check as well is just the whether the shipping times are any different, because sometimes you go on this page here, you click shipping times, and they'll have different shipping times here. So 12 to 20 days versus shipping 12 to 20 days as well. Cool. So yeah, that's basically all I look at. So in the end, I'm going to go with this seller. So if I wanted to add this product to my store, I'm not going to do it, but I'd go up here, I'd click on Shopify and click add to store. And then I'd go into Shopify and set up my product descriptions and everything there. So yeah, that's basically how I compare my AliExpress sellers. It's not too complicated.